Kellen Moore kicking off Saints training camp, ladies and gentlemen. Woo, you know, we are in the swing of things when you start seeing this. Reacting to press conferences, interviews, my God. It's all right in front of us, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, today, Mickey and Kellen both talked. We're going to review both over the next couple of videos. Kellen Moore, my guy, the king of the universe, the king of the city. Before we get into the Kellen Moore thing, I want to show y'all some goofs and gaffes. First goof is from ESPN. Today, ESPN showed this clip about the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, guys, they did make some moves this offseason, though, and one of them was wide receiver George Pickens via trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So during the team's first play of training camp, we saw Dak Prescott able to find Pickens for a massive touchdown. Obviously, a great way to start the day. Dak said this regarding...
Bad news. That's not George Pickens. Worse news. That's not from this year. That is Brandon Cooks, and that's from July 31st, 2023. ESPN, no clue what's going on, and they air that. Feels bad, man. Second goof is from the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers released linebacker Josey Jewell. He was suffering concussion syndrome type symptoms, and he's going to focus on his health, but the Panthers released him. This is from Josh Norris from Underdog. According to a team spokesman, the 30-year-old Jewell wanted to prioritize his health, blah, blah, blah. The Panthers only have one starting linebacker, Trevin Wallace. Remember, the only team last year to give up more than 500 points. Remember all the people this offseason who have said, oh, the Panthers can win the South. The Panthers can take a step forward. No, the Saints have the worst roster, not the Panthers, not the Falcons. No, the Saints are the worst. The Panthers are sweet. Ladies and gentlemen, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. All right.
I'll just open up with a couple little thoughts here. Just really excited about the opportunity to get this training camp started. This is going to be a really fun process. We built an awesome foundation over the course of certainly the off-season program through beginning in April with these guys. And so, it's been a really good process. Ultimately, we were evaluated in pads 3+ hours on Sundays. And so we're getting closer to that. And that's what training camp's all about, the physical components. And so it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be great to be back here in Metairie, to be doing training camp out here with our fans in this community.
Training camp takes all the hypotheticals out, right? Training camp takes all the, well, maybe this player can do this. Maybe this guy can do this. Maybe they can do this. Takes all that away. And it gives you the reality. It gives you, this is how blank player is performing in pads against that level of competition.
We're really excited about it. Obviously, Mickey hit a lot of the roster components here. So obviously, Tyron retiring, just a spectacular NFL career. His work ethic, playmaking skills, the impact he had on this community and this league, just incredible.
Yeah,
and so, really, he had a huge impact. And then obviously we have two guys that'll start on PUP, Taysom and Foster. So we should be good to go there.
Yeah.
We'll see how that progresses and open up.
PUP, physically unable to perform list, ladies and gentlemen.
For any questions?
Offensive coordinator, what was it like kind of game plan against somebody like Tyron?
Yeah. I mean, Tyron, the game when I was in Philly last year, he had an interception in the red zone, and it was really about just his awareness and feel for the game. And so, he's such an impactful player because of his understanding and feel for the game. And, he'd make some moves that surprise you in challenging ways. And so, obviously he'll be missed.
Tyron's the kind of guy where it's impossible to teach what he did. It's so much of that, like Kellen said, so much of that feel. It's like he was just at the right place at the right time, always ready to make a play. And it's one of those things where there's instinct or just a natural kind of inclination or whatever, but he had it in spades.
Kellen, when you played, how tough is it difficult to retire from the game?
Yeah, the retirement's never easy for any of these guys. I think, you grow up playing this game for a really long time. You build up to this NFL experience, and it's such a phenomenal high. And ultimately, for everyone, at some point it ends, either by your own choosing or by someone else's choosing. And so, I think, a lot of guys, Tyron is certainly one of those guys that has to go through that process. And I think a lot of times you got to make sure you emphasize the celebration component of it at the end, that he just had a phenomenal career.
Would you get to know him a little bit? And how would you describe him in the locker room with the younger guys?
Yeah, just a little bit, obviously. He was on the back end of OTAs, and so, phenomenal person, great character. you can tell that he cares about his teammates. He cares about the younger guys, raising those guys up. And so, obviously he had a huge impact on this place.
Yeah, big-time locker room voice, big-time veteran presence will absolutely be missed just from that aspect alone.
Did the timing of it kind of catch you by surprise with training camp about to be started, and obviously, the impact it'll have on the depth chart?
We had it was a little bit of a surprise, but obviously, sometimes these things happen as you go into training camp and coming off the summer break. And so
Tyrann had a kid this week, and it seems like that shifted some priorities. So I'm sure the timeline adds up with that. Don't blame him, right? You just have a child. All of a sudden, things look a little different. All of a sudden, you're heading into training camp. Timing-wise, I think this is pretty good timing, honestly, because it's better for this to happen now, day one of training camp, than week 2 of training camp or preseason game number 2 or whatever. So I know it seems like a shock, and I'm sure it is, and I'm sure it is a surprise to everybody involved, but if you look big picture, day one of training camp is probably the best time for this to happen for the team, because now they have ample time to try people, different positions, or see what you got, or if you got to make a roster move, you can make it, whatever. You're not too up against it.
We had enough heads up and some awareness there that, we'll be fine. We'll continue to find ways to navigate this as we go.
How much does this impact you guys as coaches? Like, even since the day you got here till now, it kind of feels like it's like a whole different path, a whole different team. Like, how do you guys adjust with it?
It is crazy when you think about Kellen Moore. I mean, he rolls up, all of a sudden Derek Carr retires, all of a sudden, it's just, Kellen has had a very tumultuous beginning to his tenure as Saints head coach, and he's handled it with the utmost grace. Yeah,
that's what the NFL is. It's about adjustments, whether it's personnel or schematically. And so you understand that you have plans in place and you have to adjust. And I think overall that safety position, we got some younger players, some guys who've been there through the whole offseason process that have done just a phenomenal job. We're excited for those guys, and we'll continue to evaluate roster acquisition as we go.
There you go.
Going into your first training camp as a head coach, have you kind of been game planning how you would approach this in this role for a while, or is something that you kind of put together just
That part's important, the infrastructure side of things, the infrastructure of a training camp, how you're going to lay everything out, what you're going to emphasize, what do the days look like. Knowing Kellen and how analytical he is and how to the letter he is, I'm sure he's had this mapped out for a long time.
I think certainly you take a lot of notes as you go through this process over all these years. Every place has great things, and you get to pull from all those different experiences and exposures, and you get to team up with a group of people to come up with what we feel like is a really, really good training camp that pushes our guys, challenges them, but ultimately gets them ready for Sundays in the fall. And so we feel great about it. We're excited for it, and ready to just get started.
We're kind of going off that. You've worked with a lot of great coaches. Did you give any of them kind of a call to, get some advice on how you exactly want to structure things? I know you said you pulled some notes from others, but did you talk to any and get some advice?
I'd just say, I think in the coaching profession, it's a very busy profession, but summer is usually your chance to catch up with a lot of people. And so certainly there's a lot of people who you get to have conversations with just to check in with them and maybe share a few notes and observations from everyone's experiences.
I love how when they hand off the microphone to the next reporter, they must be inside of a tornado or something. They must be descending from the sky in a. I mean, it's just unbelievable. They're falling to the earth like Thor in Wakanda. Is what's going on here to get the microphone to ask a question.
Yeah, my dad certainly he's retired, but he certainly he's a part of this as well, and it's always fun to have him out here.
How will you, obviously the big question will be your young quarterbacks. How do you plan on managing that rotation? Will it be all three, or just kind of where you are right now entering this process?
Yeah, so our plan is to go through a rotation process early in camp. We're kind of in this installation phase. We're really in the install phase, going through the schematics. We'll rotate these guys leading up to the Chargers game, and obviously we'll make the adjustments kind of once we get out of that first preseason game and go from there. And really excited about these guys. These guys have knocked it out of the park from the offseason program to the summers. It's a younger group, but they've just done a phenomenal job preparing themselves.
You get a lot of opinions from a lot of different people, that you are very collaborative head coach. When it comes to that quarterback battle, how many different people do you lean on, or do you kind of just ask everybody what they think as you're sort of forming your own opinion?
certainly the people that are in the quarterback room will be the main guys that we talk to, and obviously from a personnel standpoint with Mickey and his group, we'll have plenty of conversations as we go through this, and these guys get plenty of opportunities, and we're excited for them.
Talking about the rotation a little bit, I think that's the best way to do it, right? You go into a day, you're the one, you're going to get the most of the work with the ones, and just kind of rotate, let everybody show what you got, and then preseason, you adjust, and you start acting accordingly. Is somebody taking a step forward? Is someone taking a step backwards? All of a sudden, do you wean reps off someone? How's it go? So it makes total sense that that's how they would approach it. I think it makes sense, and now we can see, now we're going to start getting those reports. How is Tyler Shough doing on his day with the ones? How is Spencer Rattler doing? How is Jake Hanner doing? LOL. All that's happening. The first couple of days of camp usually is that install period. I would say the first 2 days are kind of just getting used to what's going on here. Everyone watches Rocky IV. Everyone watches, Secretariat or whatever movie. So Friday is usually like, okay, let's take the training wheels off. Let's rock and roll.
Day-to-day basis for those guys.
It's different for different teams, but
Yeah, I'd say the physical stuff is obviously relevant. You want to see that they have the physical tools, which I think all these guys do. They'll do it. They'll knock that out of the park. I think as we go through this process, it's really about the operation, the decision making, and the consistency. And over the course of this whole entire training camp, there'll be a number of days. And the fun part about training camp is I think they're going to throw interceptions in preseason and in training camp, and that's okay. And that's part of the process. There's an element of you want to see them go through a bad day or go through a challenge and have to kind of come up and rise above that. And so I think that's what this training camp will provide.
What's your philosophy on a rotation? I know during OTAs and stuff we didn't see Monday is Tyler's day and Tuesday is Spencer's day. Is it mix and match throughout sessions, or do you like to give each guy a day with the one?
It will lean more towards a player per day with the first group, but there'll be a few things here and there, and that we'll rotate those guys a little bit just to make sure.
Hey, by the way, guys, buy a freaking mug, huh? Buy a mug.
Sure, we're getting the right reps based off what we want for each day, but we'll try and get those guys some consistency. I think that's the biggest thing is you don't want these guys rotating to the point that they're just looking around figuring out, am I taking these next reps or not? You want them to have the comfort in knowing exactly what the expectation is for each day.
I think it's also beneficial to see how they approach the day, right? If hey, today's my day. Okay, what's that look like? What time do they get into the facility? What time are they leaving? What's their demeanor? How are they talking in the huddle? How are they talking before practice? How are they talking in the locker room? Are they taking charts? Is this their day? What are they showing you? All that, I think, is a huge benefit of why you should say tomorrow's your day, and then the next day is whatever, and the next day is whatever. Because I want to see how they act off the field as much as on the field during the reps.
Will that be equally divided among three guys, or the two?
Yeah. Certainly, we have a viewpoint for all three of those guys getting opportunities, and we'll see where it goes.
Following on that, OTAs, minicamp, there are some days where just the two went. Do you need all four to get reps every day, or is it some days there's going to be some guys getting throws and some days there aren't?
Yeah, every day has different itinerary, obviously. We'll try and get the top three guys as much as we can. Hunter's obviously not going to get as many just because we're navigating with those other guys right now. But, we'll see how it goes. And obviously it's a long training camp. There's preseason games. And so we'll make adjustments as we go.
Mickey talked about kind of narratives outside the building versus what we all talk about inside the building. One of the big narratives outside is you're the new coach, you drafted a quarterback at 40, that's your guy. Do you have to talk to them about that? And then where do they know everybody has an equal chance for this?
Good question.
Yeah, I think we've been really consistent with our process with these guys. I think they're all on the same page. They understand the opportunity that's ahead of them. Let them all have the chance, have the opportunity to compete. I think that's all every player can ask for in this league. We'll certainly provide that for these guys, and really excited with where it's going to go.
There's no doubt in my mind, I've said this a million times and I'll emphasize it again. There's no doubt in my mind Kellen is going into this as a true competition. And Spencer and Tyler will have every chance to prove who should be the starting quarterback in the New Orleans Saints. And there's no doubt in my mind that Kellen will choose the better player.
I thought Jake's
reintroduction does kind of factor into things now that he's healthy? Is he good to go? Or?
Yeah, Jake's good to go. He'll hop in there. Obviously, unfortunate to miss most of the OTA process, but he did everything from a mental standpoint and preparing himself physically, and so I feel like he'll be in a good place to go for it.
Kellen, we've seen the approach a lot in the NFL where a team with a young quarterback will start the veteran for a little while, give the young quarterback more time not to be thrown in. I'm picturing Kobe Brissett and Drake May as last year. Is there anything from your past experiences where you don't feel like that's necessary with a young quarterback to have someone else sort of give them a grace period?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a lot of different paths. I think ultimately when a quarterback's ready and he's the top guy, he goes and plays. Whether he's young, old, or anything.
Nothing is more overplayed than the idea of like a mentor, older veteran quarterback taking you under their wing. That's borderline fugazi.
In between, and so I think from my experience, I've been with a lot of veteran quarterbacks. Dak did start as a rookie as a fourth rounder. He was ready and he went out there. And so there's a lot of different paths that these guys can take. I think the most important thing is just seeing those characteristics that we talked about, the consistency, the operation, and the decision making. See that each and every day, and it'll present itself, and we'll make the decision.
There were some mentions earlier this offseason about the offense sort of being built around or tailored to Tyler Shough. Are those conversations you're having with each of those three quarterbacks?
That's another good question. That's a question. Who was that reporter? I like that. Whoever that reporter was, kudos. Tip of the cap. Okay? Because he could have tiptoed around that one. Because he's basically saying, hey, Kellen, word on the street is you said this to Tyler Shough. You telling that to everybody, or what's happening here, my boy? He could have sugarcoated that. He could have, asked that very differently. Could have got lost in translation. He went right at him. Asked him the question. Looked him in the eye man to man. And he's going to get a straight answer because of that. I like that.
I think all these quarterbacks do a really good job. I think they all have the ability to make all the throws. I think they all have some element of athleticism that allows them to play off schedule and with their feet in the run game and the pass game. And so I think this will complement them all really, really well. And obviously as you go, just like any position, we tailor stuff as we go. I think before the Chargers game, the main focus is really getting the foundation set, getting these guys experience, reps, all that sort of stuff from a schematic standpoint. And then we kind of shift gears coming out of the Chargers game to start heading towards the regular season and start making decisions that we have to make and starting to focus from a schematic standpoint what we want to be and some things that we want to navigate. And so we'll be able to utilize all this time to create that.
Would you prefer to have like a direction by them with the quarterback, like ideal world, like those last couple preseason games maybe you start tailoring towards?
I think anytime the decision becomes clear, we'll make the decision. We'll just roll with it, and that can happen whenever. We'll just kind of go through this process again. We'll see where it takes us. If it goes all the way to the end, it goes all the way to the end. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But these guys will have their opportunities.
All right, let me put this in layman's terms. So what's about to happen is Kellen and the staff are going to look at training camp as just the foundational base. All right, which quarterbacks can get in and out of the huddle, the tempo, how they're managing the locker room, how they're playing, how they're physically playing, okay? When preseason rolls around, then they're going to turn it to, all right, who's going to be the starting quarterback of this team? And now all of a sudden, those games are heavily weighted, all right? It's like we're taking a class, and those games are the midterm, those games are the finals, those games are the 20, 30% of your final grade. And then it's going to be up to, during those games, for one of the two to separate themselves from the other. Okay? So that's how this is going to go. That's how this is going to be. It looks like training camp, they'll be doing about the same thing. Preseason, they'll be doing their individually tailored thing. Like, hey, this is the offense for Spencer Rattler. This is the offense for Tyler Shough. Show me what you can do. Show me why I should choose this offense. That's what it's going to be. Training camp's going to be more of they're all doing the same thing.
Is there a preference? Would you rather get it done early if it's possible? Is there a goal in mind in that?
Anytime you can get more reps with guys that are on a consistent basis, there's always obviously value to that. So we'd love to get to that point, but again, there's got to be an element of patience here to go through a process.
You got to be right. You got to be true. You got to make sure what you're doing, what you're deciding is true. You can't just jump in and say, well, all right, we've seen enough. Okay, Spencer Rattler's a starter, Tyler Shough's a starter, and then you don't have enough data to really be confident in that decision.
Gives these guys opportunities. Again, I think you don't want to jump to conclusions too fast. Again, I think it's important that these guys go through some struggles at times. Throw an interception in practice out here in Metairie and then respond the next series or the next day. Like we want them to go through those things.
That is true. You don't want to have the first practice, Tyler Shough throws 5 interceptions, and then you say, all right, Spencer Rattler's the starter. You want to give them a chance to hit rock bottom, come back to the top. You want to see the ebbs and the flows.
And those are all things that you can evaluate and appreciate.
Taysom Hill has such a unique skill set and package of offense, and then when you throw on top of the fact that you haven't been able to work with him on the field yet, how do you decide how you're going to incorporate it? Does that lessen maybe the idea of QB power packages and specific Taysom Hill packages?
I think it'll definitely be an ongoing process. Just working through that with Taysom, with us as we kind of go through this journey. The rehab's the most important process right now. That's what his focus is. But again, preparing him for the NFL season, and obviously the tools that he has are really, really special. His ability to play the quarterback position, to play multiple other positions, is really rare in this league. It's going to be a huge advantage for us. It's what has made him so special. And so we're excited to let the rehab process go, and then once he can start getting acclimated, we'll start building that as we go.
You said it's really positive with that rehab process. And do you expect to get it back early in the year? How exciting is that, just the possibility of getting him back early in the year?
We're really excited to get Taysom and Foster back. Now, when that comes, I'm not a medical guy, so I'm not going to jump to conclusions there. But I think it's important for these guys. They have to go through a physical recovery process and a mental recovery process, and that's real. A lot of guys in this league go through these injuries, and they're challenging for these guys. And so these guys have been working their tails off. It's so awesome to see them out here.
Is one ahead of the other?
We'll see. We'll just see how it goes. It's been a summer process, so they kind of do it independent of each other, and now they get back in the fold here.
Entering training camp, what makes you kind of confident in the roster where it's at now that it's one that can, obviously compete for the NFC South?
Here we go.
Really excited about the process that we've gone through. I think OTAs, our guys, just the effort, the connection, what they're building is really, really special. I think the play style is huge.
Yes.
We got guys who play really physical game. They're really smart players, and they play fast, and that's all we can ask for. So we're really excited about it. We got a nice blend of some veteran guys who've been in this league for a long time that we can lean on, that have great experience, that can still play, and then we got some younger guys that are ready to rock and roll here in the NFL, and so it's going to be a fun process.
It's interesting, ladies and gentlemen. It's crazy how fast it's all happened, right? Especially now that Tyron's retired, but Saints roster is pretty young, pretty quick, right? Remember when it was the oldest roster in the NFL? Remember whenever it was salary cap hell, old aging roster, whatever? Well, imagine after next year, or imagine after this year, and after the next draft. We're bringing another draft class and some more aging veterans, organically are off the roster. Like I said, this will very quickly become one of the, if not the youngest roster in the NFL.
I know you're trying to develop depth on the offensive line, but you got 3 guys, potential starters, who were there last year. How important will it be to get those reps with those 5 guys?
In which position?
Offensive line.
Offensive line, yeah. Offensive line's a great example of how important continuity is, and getting those guys repping as many reps as they can together. It's a non-communicative position a lot of times. They're working in combinations, they're working together, and so that's a critical aspect of those guys. We're really excited about that process because now you're in pads, the run game comes alive, the play action game.
Yeah, we really haven't been able to see any of this. I've had people say, what's the offense going to look like? What's the running game look like? What's the offensive line look like? We have no idea. But we finna find out, okay? Now we're about to see exactly how all that actually comes together.
It comes alive. OTAs is very kind of 7-on-7 focused, and so it'll be fun for those guys.
With given the fact that, I know the Cowboys trained out like in Oxnard and you're from the Pacific Northwest in Philadelphia, this will probably be the hottest training camp I assume you've ever gone through. Do you lean into that and say, hey, I want to set a precedent and let these guys know? Or do you back off knowing that could maybe create soft tissue injuries? Just kind of where do you go in extreme heat like this?
think a lot of conversations with our sports performance and medical crew, just making sure we're all on the same page. Obviously, you get to lean on some of those guys who've been here for a number of years, that have gone through training camps here. This is a great advantage for us. It tests you. It puts you in a stress situation, which is a good thing. You need some of that in training camp. You need to stress the body and go through some stuff. And so it'll be a great opportunity for us. We're really excited about it. And then we'll have a little shift, in the middle of camp as we go out there around that Chargers preseason game and shift gears there as we go.
I'll tell you this. If the last 5 or 6 days, especially downtown New Orleans, where it seems like it's hotter than anywhere else because there's no wind, oh my God. It is so hot. Walking across a parking lot is unbearable.
Going back to the offensive line, do you anticipate any kind of rotation with what the starting five looks like throughout training camp, or are you pretty set with?
Brother, did you not just hear the continuity thing? Look, I don't know. Kellen might leave this answer open-ended, but here's the fact of the matter. They're going to try and make that as cohesive of a unit as possible. What counteracts cohesion is moving people around nonstop. So it will be, until someone proves they shouldn't be part of this, Kelvin Banks, Trevor Penning, Eric McCoy, Cesar Ruiz, and Talise Fuaga.
Where things were at the end of the game.
We'll go through a rotation process. I think those guys need to go through different scenarios, just like we talk about with players and personnel. We have to go through a process where these guys have played other positions, because over the course of the season, naturally, you're probably not going to have all 5 for every single game. So we'll let those guys compete. We'll rep them out. Obviously, continuity is very valuable, and we'll lean into that as much as we can, and we'll see where it takes us.
Are you kind of eager to see what that group looks like? It's like Mickey was talking about how he's excited about it, but you just don't know.
Yes.
Until you see it actually live. So.
Yeah, so much of just the way the offseason program's structured, once we now get into this padded period, the offensive line and defensive line, it's just really exciting to see it come alive and test those guys. And, it takes a couple days for these guys just to get used to pads, because they haven't had them on since, January or February, whenever their season last occurred.
Yeah, they're not going to be just blasting each other, hour 1, hour 2. It takes a little bit.
And so it'll be a little acclimation period. They kind of got to get used to it. The pad level will be a little bit high. They got to get lower. They got to deal with it. But, it's a fun process.
You're excited about the potential for that group? I mean, first rounders and McCoy's up to speak.
Yep. We're really excited about what we can do, hopefully, in the trenches with both sides of the ball.
Kellen, do you believe in setting a tone first day? I mean, the message you want to deliver to your team, what's your message to them in your first team meeting here as you're getting ready to go forward?
I was actually wondering this myself today. I was sitting here thinking, up on Airline Drive, it's all beginning. This is the first day of the first chapter, the first page, the first sentence of the book. We all remember our favorite books. You ever think back, the first time you read that first sentence? You had no clue what was in store. You had no clue what those pages, the journey it would take you on, right? And I was wondering, I wonder what Kellen's going to say. That first meeting, everyone's there. Everyone's arrived. Everyone's in the room. The entire roster, the team is there. Okay, now it's getting serious. What do you say? How do you set that tone? What is the message? I was wondering that myself.
Yeah, just really making the objectives really clear as we go through training camp. This is about building yourself physically. That's the most important thing for training camp. This is
never
one
wrong
of the
to be
few times
strong.
we get 15, 16 padded practices, whatever it is, over the course of this training camp, and we got to use it, because ultimately this game's played in pads. There's a physical component and there's a mental toughness component that we got to be able to prepare ourselves for, and so that's the most important part. The schematic part is important. We focus on fundamentals a ton each and every day. We'll build on our foundation of what we truly believe in from a core value standpoint, and we'll talk about some of the adjustments that we'll need in the season. The NFL season's really, really long, and you got to play a number of different styles. You got to expose yourself in a number of different ways, and so we'll try and do that through the course of this training camp. We'll continue to build our environment and our culture, and we'll make the roster evaluations when we need to.
Because you don't have a joint practice with another team, are those team periods going to be even more important for your staff, the evaluation?
Absolutely.
Go get physical like you talked about?
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't have joint practices this year, but we'll be able to do some stuff, as a team, kind of complementing each other as we go through this process, and allow ourselves to just get some exposure to some different looks, which I think will be very valuable.
Because of the abundance of the soft tissue injuries last year, sometimes it just happens. I think you said, completely new or protocols that you want to see pre-practice, post-practice, that kind of, ward off some of that stuff?
Well, I think we got some really phenomenal people who will help lead the charge on that, really from a prehab and a rehab standpoint, just putting ourselves in the plan of action for these guys. We'll start the day with practice, so it gives them plenty of time in the mornings to get ramped up and ready to go for practice. And then we got plenty of time on the back end, and so really hammering those important aspects of that. I think the schedule from a sports science standpoint allows them to just go for it each and every day in practice, and then when we bring it back, we bring it back. And so I think it's a really good plan put together that a number of the teams in this league have really emphasized, that have had a ton of success in this league, and so we feel great about it.
Mandatory versus, if you want to take part in it?
Yeah, obviously I think it's just building a plan for all these guys. It's an individualized plan. Every player is different, but building a plan with the sports performance, the medical, the nutrition, how important all that aspect is to build these guys up the right way. And there's an acclimation period built into these training camps that we kind of ramp up as we go, which I think allows these guys to get ready and go.
That's something Kellen's going to have to, and that's where, like 30 years ago, the head coach is probably formulating all these plans. Now it's like, okay, Kellen Moore can't be a physiotherapist. Right? He can't understand soft tissue injury. We want him to understand the offense. This is where you got to delegate. Just like with the analytics, just like all the other things you got to delegate out. Find the smartest sports science people you can, delegate it to them, and hopefully they know what they're doing.
But how does your quarterback competition actually work? You mentioned rotating every day, but is there a certain amount of reps every day that you try and hit? How does it kind of?
Yeah,
I just don't understand the microphone situation. Are they on sailboats? Are the reporters actually on sailboats?
Yeah, I think as you go through this process, the reps, it's not going to be exactly equal. Life's not fair sometimes. So we'll go through this process. We'll try and get as many reps as we can for these guys. Again, put them in different scenarios, different groups. I think sometimes putting the guy in the first group, putting the guy in the second group or the third group, whatever it may be, and putting them around different players will be good to test them. And we'll go through this process again. I think give the full exposure leading up to the Chargers game. Obviously the Chargers game, we'll see how that progresses, and then we'll make the adjustments from there.
There's a cooking show on, I think it's Fox, and Gordon Ramsay's one of the hosts. The show is actually really cool, the idea of the show. I can't remember the name of it now, but there's 3 layers, and the cooks are designated a different layer. The top layer is the best equipment, best ingredients, best whatever. Bottom layer is worst ingredients, worst equipment. And it's very interesting to see how different the chefs react in the different areas. You would think the chef is the chef. He's just going to always be the same. But some chefs thrive when you strip away the equipment, you strip away the ingredients. They have to kind of be creative or whatever. And there's less expectations, whatever. And they struggle at the top end. Right? It's interesting to see the human element of that kind of stuff. And I wish I could think of the name of that show. That's how I feel like sometimes the quarterback battle can be where, all right, now you're with the ones. Okay, what are you going to do when you're with the threes? What are you going to do with the 4th, 5th, and 6th wide receivers and the 3rd center and the whatever, backup left guard? What are you going to do now? And what translates, what doesn't translate? What is just inherently part of you? And what is dependent on your surroundings?
How far ahead, maybe this is a crazy question too, sorry, compartmentalizing training camp, knowing you got to find a quarterback, you got position battles, versus looking ahead as well, thinking of a plan, because I think 3 of your first 4 games are against some pretty good defensive coordinators with Arizona and Seattle and Buffalo, knowing that as a young coach you'll be tested against other good coaches, or is that just something that's so far down the road, you kind of compartmentalize and worry about it then?
We will do some work.
All 4 when you think about it, the first 4 games, you got Gannon, and then you got Salah, and then you've got McDonald, and then you got McDermott. That's a tough 4 defensive minds to go against.
On the back end of training camp as we focus on the season. Just, again, there's a lot of different defenses and structures and opponents that you're going to play, and you want to prepare yourself the best you can. And so we'll utilize some of the back end of training camp to kind of focus on some of the different things that will come up during the season, especially early on.
Coaching staff to support a young quarterback too. I think he was talking about every quarterback would want a good run game, strong offensive line, but when you are dealing with young guys like this, like how does that change your approach? Or?
Yeah, I think it's just getting a feel for them as players, and so getting comfortable with them getting comfortable with you, and then understand what their strengths are and trying to embrace those and put them in the best position to be successful, comfortable. That's a really important aspect of this, and that'll be a journey through training camp.
How does the Chris Olave's health situation as far? I mean, Mickey said he's full go. Is there a plan for him as far as, I mean, when you all go to tackle physical contact next week? He's not going to be wearing a jersey or anything.
No, he's good to go.
He's rocking and rolling. All right.
On the defensive side of the ball, how would you describe the vision for Brian Brzee? He was drafted when there was a different defensive staff and everything like that, but seems to have a little bit of versatility. What's kind of the vision for him?
Yeah, I think his versatility is going to be valuable up front, and then his ability to rush the passer. And I think what Brandon does an awesome job of is creating one-on-one opportunities for these guys up front in passing situations. And so he'll be able to line up in a couple different ways, create matchups, and so we're really excited about that.
Brzee's run defense has been non-existent at best. It's been downright horrible for most of the time. He's either going to get better at that, or he's going to become purely a pass rusher. And he's going to become purely a guy who he's in there to get after the passer. And he's a situational player. That's where we're at with Brian Brzee.
See him as somebody with the potential to surprise and stand up, but then also, be kind of that 3-4 end, or is that still?
Yeah, I think a lot of the trench is more, we'll see how this thing goes. We're excited about it. Obviously, we didn't get as much exposure to those guys during OTA, so training.
Yeah, we got to figure it out. I mean, you're talking about, like he said, they have done virtually nothing. So those battles, we got a long way to go in training camp to figure out what that rotation looks like.
Camp will be awesome to see him.
During the break, Brandon Cooks kind of organized some workouts too with quarterbacks. I'm sure what was your reaction to that? Did you like to see it? What do you mean?
That's why they brought him in. That's why you bring in a veteran to a young receiving room, and you hope and you expect they become leaders of that group.
Players doing that.
I just think Brandon, one of the things that attracts us to him is obviously his ability to still play the game of football at a really high level, but his leadership is phenomenal and his impact on a team.
Yep.
And so obviously that was a big piece of bringing him here. We think he's going to help our team in so many ways.
Me and Kellen are the same person. It's crazy.
Field and off the field, and so he's done an awesome job. I think the offseason is always a fun time for the players. They do get to get away and spend time with family and friends, but it's always fun how they naturally kind of connect and overlap at different places just to get a little bit extra work, and I think that's the sign of a really connected team.
My family, DVOA. My friends, pro football focused grades. That's what my life's all about, okay? Saturday, ball. Sunday, ball. Monday, ball. Thursday ball, Tuesday, Wednesday ball, Friday ball. That's what it's all about.
What type of balance are you looking for in a training camp in terms of the back and forth with offense and defense? Defense gets a takeaway, that means somebody on offense turns the ball over, right? So
yes.
What are you kind of looking for in terms of the balance there?
Yeah, I think the fun part of training camp is there's a back and forth battle, and there's going to be highs and lows on both sides of the ball, and that's natural. And so I think the most important thing is you want to see the back and forth. You want to see success on both sides of the football. Even when you talk about special teams, see success on both sides of that.
It is interesting when you think about, in order for the defense to succeed on a certain level, the offense has to have failed. But you want to see the defense succeed, so you have to be okay with the offense failing. Conversely, if the offense is succeeding, to a certain extent, the defense is failing, right? So, because I saw some people during the Shough Rattler mini camp when they were going like 8 for 8, 9 for 9, and whatever. A lot of people were like, well, that means the defense is getting torched. So we suck again. But it's like, there is good, you have to balance all that. You can't, it's a seesaw. You got to find the balance in the seesaw. You have to understand what you're looking for. You can't live on that outside.
You just want to see the back and forth throughout it.
We're kind of wrapping up. As we start a new chapter here, any thoughts on the gold jerseys or the white helmets or anything?
I love it all. It's been a fun process to see Bum and so many of the guys who are part of the equipment staff and this organization kind of continue to evolve and build. And I know certainly the players are really fired up about it.
He was kind of talking about this, but what do you feel like you and your staff can really make a difference in year one in terms of, I don't know if it's resetting energy or obviously winning more games, but like, what's kind of the big picture energy that you want to like inject?
Yeah, I think as you go through this process, transitions happen. It's about connecting as people, giving people a vision for how they can be as successful as they can be, and I think that's our goal, is to put these guys in a really good position to be successful, and we're excited about teaming up.
What are your thoughts on the Guardian caps and games? I know the immediate thought is, oh, there's a lot of it, but I mean, have you talked to any players, and how do you feel about it?
We just talked about it in team meeting. Obviously, it's available for guys, and so it's a tool that, if someone feels more comfortable wearing them, we obviously have made it available to them, and so we're good to go. It's certainly become something that's happened the last few years in this league, and if guys want to use it, they use it.
You feel it growing?
Have they?
Do you feel it growing? Do you feel players still somewhat apprehensive?
There's been a few. I think it's still in a smaller phase, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Kellen, we've talked a lot about what you're excited for throughout training camp, but what do you hope to know by the end of the first day tomorrow? Just to survive the heat?
I think operation is a big part of this, and that our guys operate at a really high level. A lot of this has been built through the off-season program, and now it's time to go. And so we want to see these guys run around, being fast, decisive. They understand a lot of the schemes already been put in during off-season program. So a lot of what we're doing the first week, they've already done it a number of times. And so just trust ourselves and go.
Hit the ground running.
Yeah. Cadence, progression, or other aspects?
Yeah, cadence, progression, all those different things. I think just the practice flow that our guys start feeling a routine and understand the expectations and how we practice and the energy that you bring and the finish that you play with and all those little things.
There's 11 practices before going to California. 9 of them are open to fans. Why was that an important gesture, or not more than gesture? What was that important action to take? Is it opening up so many practices?
Yeah, that was just an important aspect of ours. We want to be here in Metairie, to be in the heat, to be back home as we go through this, but the fan experience is what's special. So many of us have grown up around training camp, and shoot, I went to Seattle Seahawks training camp practices and growing up, and so you remember those experiences of kids getting to watch the NFL players and go through that process, and so we want to create as many opportunities for this community to rally together and spend time with us.
Love it. And that's important because the last couple of years have been very tense between the players and the media and the fans. And Dennis Allen created this weird subculture where it was almost like the players versus the fans and the players versus the media. And I like Kellen's, how he's kind of gravitated more to this, like, no, we're all one. We want the fans to be there. We want the media to be there. We're willing. We're, open and transparent. So, yeah, go support the team. If you can, if the time and all that stuff works, go check out training camp. And be a part of that ride. Be a part of the very beginning of this journey.
Are there any plans towards the idea of, there's been in the past some evening practices at Ullman Stadium and things like that. Has that been something that's important?
We'll see how it goes. Right now, we're mostly just in Metairie. We'll go to Orange County for a few days, and then we'll come back to our facility. But we'll see.
Alan, I'm just curious, did you get your Super Bowl ring?
I've not gotten it yet, but I've seen pictures, and I didn't make it, but Nick FaceTimed me and gave me a bunch of crap for not being there. So
the intentionality of just some of the drills you guys do and really honing out on some things that might seem a little minute. When you have so many guys who feel like they might have to flash or make a play to make the roster, whatever it might be, how important is it to get them to kind of hone in on getting back to the fundamentals and really being intentional with everything they're doing?
I think the fundamentals is something that we've just hammered from the beginning, how important it is. We can draw up plays, we can do fun blitzes, and do all the scheme things we want. Fundamentals are the starting point and the foundation of everything. And so we've really hammered it with both sides of the football and special teams. One of the unique things for us is, we have defensive guys do ball security. We have offensive guys do tackling drills because we think it's important that, when we make a pick, make an interception on defense, the expectation is the ball security is the same as Alvin's ball security. And if we happen to have to make a tackle on offense, we're making the same tackling expectation as DeMario has. And so I think our guys have really embraced that.
I love it. I love that attention to detail. We call that no stone left unturned, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Thanks, guys.